Help support the show by joining the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Also, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content. This is one of the strangest Pittsburgh Steelers off seasons that I have ever observed since covering the Browns in the capacity that I have since like 2018, right? And usually I don't make very many videos about the Steelers in the offseason because they're not a very interesting off-season team for the most part. But the last couple of years, they've been more bold in the offseason. And I think this offseason is probably their most, I don't know if it's bold, but they've made things happen. I don't know if these things are good, but things have certainly happened in Pittsburgh. Like usually I'm commenting on other things AFC North teams are doing, right? Like maybe the Bengals or the Ravens. But the Steelers usually don't really hear from me in the offseason, despite the fact that I do cover them as part of AFC North talk. But now Pittsburgh's made a lot of moves that I feel like we have to have a conversation about. And I know I'm a couple of days late. This isn't exactly breaking news or anything, but I think what's going on over there is interesting to say the least. First things first, right now, they're under uncertain terms with TJ Watt. There's rumors of possible trades being available with TJ Watt. The Steelers don't seem to be super excited about the extension that TJ Watt wants and giving him that extension. I kind of understand where Pittsburgh's coming from on this one. And if this were any other offseason, I would say Pittsburgh would just give him his money by the start of the camp period, and this is going to be a nothing burger. But, you know, there's a chance something happens given how wild the Steelers have acted this offseason, right? But the reason I can understand Pittsburgh being hesitant to give TJ Watt money, because if you just think about TJ Watt as the name value, you think this is insane. But I think over the last couple of years, if you look at his advanced performance, I know people are going to bring up raw sack numbers, but there's a lot of reasons why TJ's sack numbers have been inflated his entire career. If you look at his raw pass rushing ability, right? At one point in TJ's career, he had similar pass rush win rate numbers to Myles Garrett, right? Like that was when it was truly bar for bar, band for band, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett trading off the bars to be the top guy in the NFL at edge. Over the last couple of years, TJ Watt's pass rush win rate has dipped and Myles Garrett's has skyrocketed, right? And Myles' sack production has caught up with TJ over the last couple of years. So the argument of whether TJ is better than Myles, that's not really one I think a lot of people outside of Pittsburgh are really having anymore. But there's still a question like, how good is TJ Watt still? And I would say I would put him probably below like Trey, Max Crosby at this point. His style of play, I don't think will age well, and I don't think has aged well, right? He's a hustle, run down the middle of your chest kind of guy. He doesn't have a lot of like swivel to that game, right? It's just kind of one move. And unless you are James Harrison, right, where it is such an unstoppable move that you can just spam it over and over again, that's going to be something that people are going to pick up on, find strategies for, and figure you out pretty good there. Maybe TJ's been playing with injuries there, but over what I've seen with the last 2 years from TJ, I would not feel comfortable giving him a Myles Garrett contract. I don't think he's on that same level. So I understand why Pittsburgh's like, I don't know if I want to do all that. I understand why TJ Watt is saying I deserve the Myles Garrett contract, because if you're TJ Watt, you see yourself as the next best thing, or if not better than Myles Garrett. So I understand why TJ wants the bag. I understand why Pittsburgh doesn't want to give it to him. And I understand the stalemate that they're at. I think Pittsburgh should trade him. Like if they were to trade TJ Watt, it's not a move I would criticize, if I'm being honest with you. I think it would be a smart move for the future, because I don't think this Pittsburgh team right now has much of a future. But that brings me to some of the weird shit that Pittsburgh is doing this season. Because, like, if you ask me what direction it's Pittsburgh taking this season, what is their goal for this year? I have absolutely no idea what Pittsburgh is truly shooting for this year. Like, some of these moves suggest that Pittsburgh is trying to be a win now team. Some of these moves suggest that Pittsburgh understands that they don't have enough, right? We'll get into more of why I feel this team's so directionally confused in a second. But let's talk about the second order of business here with Pittsburgh, right? They have made a trade that truly baffles me. Not because it's a outrageously awful trade, just because I don't know what they're trying to get out of this. And look, there's some football reasons for why they did it. I just don't think that this trade makes sense given where Pittsburgh is in their timeline. So Pittsburgh traded Minka Fitzpatrick and a 2027 fifth round pick and a 2027 fifth round pick. So they got rid of Minka Fitzpatrick and a 2027 fifth for Jaylen Ramsay, Giannu Smith, and a 2027 seventh round pick. Now, this is an interesting one to see Steeler fans justify. Because on one hand, I have seen Steeler fans tell me that Minka is a defensive player of the year candidate. He's one of the best players in all of NFL on defense, and that he's the best safety in all of football. And then you trade him for 30-year-old Jaylen Ramsay, and people are like, well, it's a clear upgrade. It's like, what do you really think of Minka Fitzpatrick at this point, right? My issue with Pittsburgh and Minka Fitzpatrick has always been they have never been in a situation in the secondary where they can allow Minka to be Minka. They always have to ask Minka to play the nickel corner position most of the time because they just haven't had sufficient solutions at that position. They have time and time not taking care of that position. So when I heard that they were going after Jaylen Ramsay, it made a lot of sense. Like, oh, yeah, you pair Jaylen Ramsay with Minka Fitzpatrick. Minka could do whatever he wants. All of a sudden, that defense looks a lot different. But getting Jaylen Ramsay and sacrificing Minka Fitzpatrick, it's like you are trading for a solution to a problem, but creating a bigger problem in finding the solution to a problem because the guy who the problem is supposed to be solved for, you just got rid of. So I'm like, what are they doing? Are they going to play Juan Thornhill? They think Juan Thornhill is just as good as having Minka Fitzpatrick back there? And let's have a real conversation about Jaylen Ramsay. Look, Jaylen Ramsay in Jacksonville, you won't get me to say anything bad about Jaylen Ramsay in Jacksonville. Jaylen Ramsay, since he's left Jacksonville, has been a mixed bag. I don't think he was very good in 2020 with LA. I thought he was much better in 2021. He was solid in 2022, but then he's been in Miami and he's been pretty forgettable or injured in Miami. I haven't thought about Jaylen Ramsay since they won the Super Bowl, right? When was that? 2021? That's the last time I've seriously thought about Jaylen Ramsay. Now, again, Jaylen Ramsay, one of the most hyped up draft prospects of all time at the corner position, lived up to the hype when he was in Jacksonville. For a time, was one of the most dominant corners in all of football. And, you know, he's kind of been a part of this revolution we've seen with nickel corners where you could play them more. And God knows the Steelers need to play more nickel corners because they love being in base and exposing their linebackers and having Patrick Queen run seams. And it's just not good, right, what Pittsburgh does to their linebackers. So it makes sense that they would want a nickel because a lot of that allows you to do a lot with Minka Fitzpatrick. But not having Minka makes me kind of wonder, like, okay, did you really even get better? Or did you create a problem just as big as the one you solved? And I honestly question whether downgrading at free safety to upgrade at nickel corner is worth it. Like, I understand Jalen's probably going to play some outside, right? Like, he's not going to play nickel corner snaps, but I'm saying primarily that's what you want him to do is play the slide, right? I don't know. And this gets me to my directionally confused thing with Pittsburgh, right? On one hand, you can make the argument that Pittsburgh's going all in on this year because they traded George Pickens, brought in DK Metcalf, got older at wide receiver, but more established at wide receiver. Jaylen Ramsay is 30. Minka Fitzpatrick is 28. So they got older when they traded for Jaylen Ramsay. They brought in Jonnu Smith, is another tight end. They needed one. I'm going to be real with you, though. Tight end 2, wide receiver 3, wherever they throw Jonnu Smith. Probably looking at 500, 600 yards at best. Not really going to change the entire makeup of Pittsburgh's season. But not likely to change Pittsburgh's makeup of the entire season, right? The Jaylen Ramsay thing's probably going to be much more impactful. I don't know. So you're getting older at wide receiver. You're getting older at corner. For what you think is a front office are upgrades. You have a 41-year-old quarterback. You can make the argument to me that those are moves for a team to win now. But then, on the same hand, you're considering trading TJ Watt, and you gave up Minka Fitzpatrick to get Jaylen Ramsay. And it just makes me wonder, like, well, what's really, like, are you just trying to go 10-6 again in the most spicy way possible? I don't understand it. I'm not a big fan of Pittsburgh's roster. I don't think this trade is a great trade for Pittsburgh because I think Jaylen Ramsay is probably trafficking more these days on name value than actual on the field value. I think people remember what Jaylen Ramsay used to be and think that that's what they're getting in Pittsburgh. But that is not who Jaylen Ramsay is anymore. Like, I don't think that's representative of what you're going to get. I mean, he's going to be about 31 years old by the time December comes around. Like, that's really old for a corner, especially one that you're expecting to put in the slot. What? How many times did he play in the slot last year? Almost 200 snaps? How many tackles are you expecting this guy to get? Like, I don't really know. I don't really know if he's not been the outside corner that he was in Jacksonville for a very long time. I mean, like, if we're talking about his ability to play outside corner, he ain't done that since like 2017, where he was like that shutdown outside guy. That's almost 10 years ago. It's crazy to say because, like, Jaylen Ramsay don't feel old to me, but damn. I don't know about this one. Yeah, I keep looking at Pittsburgh and I see a team that can convince themselves, and sometimes it's the worst thing for you, right? We lived this last year with the Browns. The Browns were a talented enough team that they could convince themselves that they could win the Super Bowl that year. But reality going to hit fast, right? And reality hit fast for that Browns team. And I'm not saying that this Steelers team is anywhere close to what last year's Browns team are. They're not going to be a 3-win team or anything like that. But I think they're going into this season like thinking that they're going to win 11, 12 games and make a deep run in the playoffs. And I just don't see it for this squad. Jaylen Ramsay's older, and I don't think he's an upgrade over Minka. I have a hard time believing that. Adding Jonnu Smith is nice, but even Jonnu Smith hasn't been. Let me double check this before I go on it. But I don't believe Jonnu Smith has been super productive in his last stop. Was he in not New Orleans, but New England? Yeah, so Jonnu Smith, Tennessee, 400 yards his last 2 seasons. New England, about 294, 245 yards in New England. Played with Arthur Smith in Atlanta, had a career high of about 5. So he was productive the last couple of years. I don't know with Pat Freiermuth if he's going to get about 884 yards and 111 targets. We're probably talking about somewhere between 50 to 70 and you're hoping for about 600 yards from him, like I said earlier, and I think that would be a success for Giannu Smith. But I don't know if Giannu Smith and almost 31-year-old Jaylen Ramsay make a package. And again, Giannu Smith's going to be 30 this year too. Like, he's not young. These aren't moves that are going to help you down the line. And for a team that, I mean, more than likely are looking at a reset window sooner than later, what are you extending here? Like, because like, even if Giannu Smith works out great, even if Jaylen Ramsay works out great, do you think this team, anchored by a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers, who has not made a team better since what, his last MVP season in like 2018, like since like 2020, he hasn't made a team better. Every team he's been on since then has like been better without him. Are we count on that guy giving you a championship window? Because like, I don't understand these moves. They don't put you over the hump to be a team I think can beat Kansas City. I don't even know if this puts you over the hump to be a team that can make the second round. But these are moves you're making with the energy of it's going to get us over the hump. And I'm like, well, I don't see it. I don't see it. It feels like they're maintaining the status quo very aggressively, when I think Pittsburgh should be at the point to where they should consider not tanking or anything like that, but really considering their long-term future instead of going all in on 30-year-old players who, look, whether the Steelers admit it or not going to fit their timeline in a year or two. That's the thing I don't think makes very much sense. Like, what are you going to do with DK Metcalf in a couple of years? What are you going to do with Giannu Smith in a couple of years? What are you going to do with Jaylen Ramsay when he's 34 years old in 2.5 seasons? Like, and you traded Minka Fitzpatrick for that. You traded George Pickens, which I'll give the Steelers the benefit of the doubt on a wide receiver trade. But I don't know. This doesn't feel like it makes a ton of sense to me, given where Pittsburgh is in my mind. But let me know what y'all think. Is this something that scares you? Are you afraid of Jaylen Ramsay and black and gold? Are you happy to see Minka Fitzpatrick out the division? Y'all let me know in the comment section what you thinking. But peace.